At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized, so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to Tales of the Resistance, where we share stories of defiance and rebellion as little glimmers of hope in these trying times. I'm Amber Hunt. Let's get to it. On Friday, more than 1,300 career employees at the State Department were forced out with little warning, some just days after writing speeches for the political appointees who laid them off. Many left with small boxes, still stunned. A few clutched grocery bags of books and plants. And if that sounds like a slow-motion wrecking ball swinging through U.S. diplomacy, it is. This was no performance review gone wrong. It was part of Trump's sweeping reorganization of the State Department, the largest in decades. And it gutted core programs in human rights, counter-extremism, international labor, and even science diplomacy. Offices that one tracks political prisoners and promoted civic space abroad, slashed. Experts in regional labor practices and democracy building laid off en masse. One staffer said the entire Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor is just gone. Foreign service officers with decades of expertise were left scrambling, often with zero practical guidance beyond a retirement resources list. Quote, they were not done with dignity, they were not done respectfully, end quote. That's according to one laid-off officer, and that's putting it mildly. Virginia Congressman Suhas Subramaniam said he can't fix the cuts alone, but he'll work to help spread the stories of the people who have lost their jobs.
I think what we found is that when we put the pressure on, when we tell the stories, when we make the administration answer for things like this, they tend to back down.
We'll see about that. But even in the chaos, the department's career staff reminded us what public service looks like. Hundreds of employees gathered to clap out their departing colleagues, a tradition that's typically reserved for secretaries of state. One retiree told WUSA 9 that most of the workers want to support the administration.
I think this policy, however, of RIFs, of skilled diplomats, skilled foreign service officers, and civil servants is a travesty.
Now, the applause went on for nearly 2 hours. There were tears, hugs, and, in at least one case, T-shirts reading, "Science is diplomacy, diplomacy is science." In a week full of loss, that moment of solidarity meant a lot more than any pink slip. Federal Judge Joseph LaPlante recently put the brakes on President Trump's executive order attempting to deny automatic citizenship to U.S.-born children of undocumented parents, a direct challenge to over a century of settled constitutional law. That would be the 14th Amendment we're talking about, the one that in a nutshell says, if you're born in America, you're American. That's not just common sense. It's been the law of the land since the 1898 Supreme Court case United States versus Wong Kim Ark. But in January 2025, the Trump administration signed an executive order titled Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, declaring that children born to undocumented immigrants were not subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. Immigration law experts called the move ahistorical, unconstitutional, and deeply destabilizing. The order was set to take effect July 27th until LaPlante stepped in. In a sharply worded ruling, LaPlante certified a national class of affected infants and issued an injunction calling the policy a source of quote-unquote irreparable harm. Citizenship, he said, is, quote, the greatest privilege that exists in the world, end quote. His decision hinges on a carve-out in a recent ruling which barred nationwide injunctions except in class action cases, a loophole the ACLU moved to quickly use. The lawsuit argues that Trump's order could render some children stateless and cut families off from critical programs like Medicaid and SNAP. It also threatens to split families by immigration status based on arbitrary birth dates. As Ethan DeWitt reported for the Maine Morning Star, LaPlante has historically avoided sweeping national rulings, but this time he was unequivocal, saying, quote, "Class action is different," end quote. And for now, that difference is what's standing between Trump and the 14th Amendment. In a rare act of judicial resistance, the federal judges of New York's Northern District have declined Trump appointee John A. Sarcone III as permanent U.S. Attorney in Albany, a quiet but significant blow to the Trump administration's Justice Department. Sarcone, appointed by Trump in March to a 120-day interim post, had drawn controversy for inflammatory public comments, clashes with local police and press, and a questionable account of being attacked by an undocumented man. That incident, widely amplified on Fox News, fell apart after video evidence contradicted Sarcone's claims and the most serious charges were dropped. Local prosecutions ultimately secured a misdemeanor plea. Just for funsies, let's spell out that incident. On June 17th, a terrified Sarcone claimed he was nearly murdered outside a downtown Albany hotel by a man, quote, yelling aggressively in a foreign language, end quote. The man, Saul Morales Garcia, an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador, was arrested and initially charged with attempted murder, but surveillance footage told a different story. Morales Garcia approached Sarcone, and he brandished an object, but there was no physical threat and no contact. Prosecutors dropped the felony charge, and Morales Garcia ultimately pleaded to misdemeanor menacing. That didn't stop Sarcone from using the incident to blast immigration policy and smear the Albany police, even as the video undercut his claims. Anyways, New York Times reporter Santul Nerkar reported, the judges offered no public explanation for the decision, but legal scholars say the refusal is almost unprecedented and may reflect growing unease with Trump's heavy reliance on interim appointees and ideologically aggressive picks. Sarcone had reportedly told local TV reporters his tenure was being extended. The judges quickly issued a public correction. It wasn't. This may not be a dramatic courtroom takedown, but it's a reminder that quiet institutional backbone still exists, and sometimes a simple no is the most powerful tool democracy has. Another judge, another setback for the Trump administration. Just a day after a federal court blocked Trump's attempt to rewrite birthright citizenship, a U.S. District Court judge in California halted key elements of its immigration enforcement strategy. On Friday, Judge Mame Frimpong issued 2 emergency orders targeting immigration raids across 7 California counties, including Los Angeles and Ventura. Here's Conan Nolan of NBC-LA.
Now, federal judge Mame Frimpong, a Biden appointee, ruled that there was evidence that agents were stopping people based on their race, their language, and their occupation, or where they were working, say a car wash or outside a Home Depot. And a reliance on just those factors violate the Fourth Amendment's right against unreasonable searches and seizures.
The lawsuit, filed by immigration rights groups, alleges that Trump's crackdown is driven by racial profiling and arbitrary arrest quotas. Among the plaintiffs, 2 U.S. citizens and 3 immigrants, one of whom was allegedly physically assaulted while at work, according to the ACLU. Frimpong agreed there was a mountain of evidence pointing to Fourth and Fifth Amendment violations. As the Associated Press reported, these orders are temporary while the case proceeds, but they send a clear message. Racial profiling is not law enforcement, and in this courtroom, at least, the Constitution still holds. This one's not a courtroom, it's a swamp, literally. Alligator Alcatraz, the nickname for a rapidly built immigrant detention center in the Florida Everglades, has drawn outrage from Democratic lawmakers who are calling the conditions inside inhumane, gross, and potentially illegal. On July 12th, Reps Maxwell Alejandro Frost and Debbie Wasserman Schultz toured the compound where more than 1,000 mostly Hispanic men are being held in cages in sweltering tents surrounded by swamp. Frost described detainees shouting for help, some identifying themselves as U.S. citizens and others chanting Libertad, Spanish for freedom, as lawmakers were escorted out without being allowed to speak to them. Here's Frost at a press conference.
We saw humans being held in cages, 32 people per cage, 3 toilets in each cage for these 32 people, and their drinking water comes from the toilet.
The center, constructed in 8 days at the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, already shows signs of failure. Reports of flooding, backed up toilets, and detainees sleeping under 24/7 lighting with no access to legal counsel. The facility also sits on or near tribal land, raising sovereignty concerns. Meanwhile, Republicans who toured earlier called the food yummy and praised the beds. Sure, Jan. As Phil Fernandez reported for USA Today, the Democrats were previously blocked from making an unannounced visit in defiance of federal law. Wasserman Schultz called the recent tour a sham designed to sanitize the optics. Frost told MSNBC.
And when I was looking at those cages, I saw myself. I saw people my age, people who looked exactly like me. And so I'm ashamed as a Floridian, and every Floridian should be ashamed that our taxpayer dollars are being used to create this internment camp for immigrants.
If the Trump administration thought they could disappear people into the swamp without consequences, they're learning. Congress is watching and telling what they saw. This has been Tales of the Resistance, a production of Grab Bag Collab. To support us, go to patreon.com/grabbagcollab. This episode was reported by me, Amber Hunt, and edited by Amanda Rossman. Say hi to Daisy Egan. She's pretty swell.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Thanks for selling your car to Carvana. Here's your check.
Whoa, when did I get here?
What do you mean?
I swear it was just moments ago that I accepted a great offer from Carvana online. I must have time traveled to the future.
It was just moments ago. We do same-day pickup. Here's your check for that great offer.
It is the future.
It's the present and just the convenience of Carvana. Sorry to blow your mind.
It's all good. Happens all the time.
Sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times may vary and fees may apply.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.